try this again. Take two. Is it on? I think it's starting again. I wish there was a way that I could pick the picture that it stops with, because that's so awful. I look like a zombie. It's like the least flattering picture ever. Okay. Oh, good. I'm back. And we're back. Okay, yay. Yay, yay, yay. So, okay, RC, hello. Let's see. Let me get to some of these questions from. Oh, I love this one. Okay. This is not really a question, but this is just an awesome email that I got that I really wanted to share with you guys. This is from Irish Gal, who says, "Hi, Dana. Well, after your answer to my question in December of 2016, I finally had the chance to put your advice into action." So her question back then had to do with, she really wanted to let her ex know everything he'd ever done, and as a way of getting closure. And so at the time, I was trying to encourage her that she was not going to get the closure that she was seeking. She was either going to get some sort of snarky response that was going to bait her back into fighting, or it was going to be complete denial, complete lacking of accountability for the pain that he caused, or it was going to be some sort of saccharine sweet apology that would potentially lure her back in. And so I would strongly encourage her to take all of everything that she had to say and to write it down, and to get together with friends and burn those letters, and just make it this real kind of like cleansing ceremony almost. So that's what she ended up doing. So she says, "I had multitudes of therapeutic writings and letters to my ex after finding out about his cheating, his lying, his manipulations, his financial and emotional blackmail, as well as destroying my self-esteem through neglecting my needs and withholding all intimacy. You suggested that I find a way to ceremonially burn these letters while being surrounded by people that care about me and my healing journey. I have 10 wonderful female friends that I trust with my pain and detailed stories. We gathered on a snowy evening with appetizers and beverages. My friends had the fireplace fully stoked for my speech on what I went through, my goals for healing, and the amazing support that they all gifted me with over the past 6 months. I spoke, I laughed, I cried. I had a series of envelopes with the outline of each topic that I had tackled with my well-formed, assertive, and clear statements. As each envelope was tossed into the flames, one of my friends said, 'We need to say something with each one that you throw in there.' And I agreed. So my 10 girlfriends yelled out a series of names for him with expletives that we all sang out in harmony. This brought about laughter through the tears. It was empowering for everyone, as they also had anger to express about the treatment of their well-loved friend. I finished with words of gratefulness for the women that have always been there for me, even when I pulled away from them, due to being so embarrassed by my boyfriend's awful behavior. I reminded them of the strength that we have been given as women from generations of strong women, with the will to survive all manners of abuse and hardship. Our ancestors guided our way to a time when we have more choices than ever in history. To fill my empty buckets, I am planning treats and indulging in solitary quests, as well as spas, massages, and pampering. I have planned every detail to fill my own needs instead of the past years of filling only his. I referred to our International Women's Day and our rights to celebrate each other's friendship and the beauty of it all. I described the next steps in my healing journey, which is to travel to the arts festival in a few days, as well as a flower show, a favorite place, and wonderful concerts. Then I will carry on to Indonesia to find some peace through views of volcanoes, rice fields, and jungles. I will spend my days in meditation, learning to make some silver jewelry, exploring waterfalls and pink sand beaches, eating fruit and spicy treats. I don't know if I will regain self-love, but putting myself first instead of taking care of him and others will be a big step in that direction. My friends cheered all of my plans. They shared their hugs and tears during the burning ceremony and validated my bravery to take on such a self-soothing plan. You asked me to describe how I felt after trying a hippie woo-woo thing like this. To be honest, I was at first simply exhausted and weepy. The next day, however, I woke up with a new feeling. Usually, I would wake up with a pang in my stomach of the pain and betrayal, the profound sadness and the heartbreak of my losses. This day, I woke up to a blanket of fresh white snow, and I found I was feeling proud of myself, loved by my true friends, empowered by the symbol of letting go of a little, and felt just a little bit lighter. The nasty swear words and names that we playfully chanted as I burned each letter brought a smile to my face. It didn't make it all better, but I am so glad that I did it because I feel a little bit better. And more importantly, I filled some of the void of missing a nasty and self-centered person with a vision of pure love, friendship, and laughter. Thank you for your advice to maintain no contact and send my words of clarity to him through smoke. Dana, I have a photo of my event to send to you if you would like it, if you tell me how and where to send an attachment. Sincerely empowered Irish gal. I love this. This makes my heart smile to hear that things went so well and that you're feeling sincerely empowered. I think that's just amazing. And I would encourage you, you are such a strong writer. I would strongly encourage you, if you feel like it would help, to consider starting a blog and to put and you can make it anonymous. I'm just throwing this out there. To put this out there. I mean, this is kind of like your eat, pray, love, right? And your story back to you. And it's a powerful story. And I think it could really help a lot of people to hear about your journey back to you. So I wish you all the best. If you want to send me an attachment of something, you can send it to that Dear Dana at thriveafterabuse.com. And it's just the attachment thing in any email. So you can Google how to attach a picture, and it should be able to walk you through it. If you get stuck, email me, and I'll see if I can kind of walk you through it too. So it's very powerful. There's something very powerful with letting go, with burning things that just signify a closure. Like, this is done. Like, for example, when I went through nursing school, it was so awful. There was so much. You would think like nurses, right? And this was kind of my idea. I'm like, wow, nurses are really kind, compassionate, loving people. And some of my instructors were amazing. Some of them were just absolutely awful. Like, some nurses are kind of these like earth mother nurturing people. And then like the other half, there's a saying that, those types of nurses eat their young. Like, and they do. They're just awful, awful. And it was just this whole time of feeling hazed and harassed and bullied. And I was fresh out of my relationship. And it was just it was so intense, and I couldn't leave because you can't really transfer out of a nursing school because the waiting list, it was just awful. And having to just put up with that. And after I got out of school, I burned my scrubs. And that was such a good feeling to just symbolize that I was done. Like, I was just done with that. So if you have anything to, anything that you can burn in like a fire pit that reminds you of something unpleasant that you're ready to let go of, it really can be quite therapeutic. So, okay. Let's see. Oh, and then I've got a few messages too from people that were saying that episode 5 of the podcast had no sound. And yes, that is correct, but it should be working now. So it's learning curve. So thank you for letting me know. This is from Sally. Sally says, Dana, I went to court regarding spousal support. I was married for 28 years. I left in 2014 in the middle of the night. My ex-husband was diagnosed bipolar with severe depression and anxiety, and he's on long-term disability. I put a no-contact order in place. We went in front of a female judge 2 weeks ago, and thank God, she gave both of our lawyers heck and awarded me full spousal support. The judge got mad at my ex for how he treated me, saying that he had no money when he did. That night he attempted suicide, really just so it would hold everything up. Now I'm awaiting on my ex's reply to my settlement. The first judge was male and let my ex have his own way. I have been struggling, but my ex lives in the house and bought a sports car. The female judge crushed his ego and put him in his place. I have been listening and reading books on narcissism, and I didn't even look at my ex when we were in court. When I can afford it, I will send money. I am very grateful for your knowledge. Well, thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you were able to get spousal support. 28 years, yeah, So, and I'm sorry that you're going through all that, and I'm glad that my videos have been able to help to some extent. As far as if I'm just going to mention this, I don't know too people even know that I do this. I'd been kind of holding off on mentioning this, but I have a Patreon account, and this is a whole nother video that I need to make. I have a Patreon account. You can find me on Patreon at Dana Morningstar, and so if you would like to donate anything, you can. It would definitely be much appreciated. It goes to keeping everything running at this point, really, is what it does. But even $1 a month would be fantastic. But for sure, like, I do what I do because I love what I love doing this. So please don't give anything that you can't comfortably afford to give. Please don't feel obligated, and I'm not going anywhere. So, but just for those of you that are interested, it is there. I don't promote it because I guess I just don't want people to feel obligated or pressured or anything weird to do it. But if you want to, it's there. No pressure. So that's another video that I was thinking about making. Is I would like to I would like to do this full time. And I do struggle with trying to figure out how to do that, how to be able to make money from this in a way that I have peace about. So this is what I'm saying. I think it'd be fun as a community if I do a live stream and we can just throw out ideas, because I have some pretty far out ideas that may just be all sunshine and rainbows. I don't know, probably. It's kind of how most of my ideas and thinking tends to go. But I think it would be fun to brainstorm with some other people and just to hear what you guys think about all of this, because I don't want to monetize any of this, and I don't want it to be icky, and I don't want it to change the feel of things at all, really. So I don't know. We'll do another video about that. Figure it out. Okay. Let's see. Gotta check these off as I go. Okay, this is from Scott, who says, and you know what, actually real quick before I get into Scott's email, we've been talking a lot tonight about male narcissists and, like male abusers. And I just want to make it really clear, because we do have a ton of guys out in our community, and everything that I'm saying goes for females too, female abusers. And so please don't think that it's, you know, I am trying to just only talk about male abusers. It's just that's been the questions that have come up so far. But kind of abuse doesn't discriminate, almost unfortunately, right? Like it happens to everybody. So it's not about gender and strength. It's about power and control. Okay, so this is from Scott. Okay. I love your videos. I'm forever grateful for you and your videos as they helped me to discover that I was the victim of emotional abuse at the hands of a narcissistic partner, more specifically a covert narcissist. Before discovering your videos, I never understood why I felt the way I did. I didn't know what a narcissist was. I really didn't believe somebody could be as mean and evil as they are. I wasn't raised like this. We had known each other for about 10 years. We worked at the same company. We were together for about 7 years and actually engaged for 6. I have been in a fog for the last 7 years. It was not a relationship. It was a manipulationship. I believe it has negatively affected my performance at work. I believe this put me at the top of the layoff list. Now I believe she never had any intention from the beginning of getting married. Although she said that she'd like to marry and that she'd like to have children, the only reason she accepted the engagement ring was to hook me in. Well, of course I love you. I accepted the ring, didn't I? And it was all a big hook. It was a part of the relationship illusion. Looking at it now, thank goodness we never married or had children. But you know, almost from the very start, I knew something was wrong. It didn't feel right because I started to see some of the red flags. I could tell she was just not normal. I wanted the relationship to work so badly that I ignored my intuition. I was the one who was in love. I didn't want to give up on her. Maybe I thought she could change or that I could fix her. I didn't want to disappoint the families. Anyhow, I even confronted her about how I was feeling, but was always talked out of it, even though things didn't line up. At about the 6-month mark, I tried to break up with her, but she started crying, begged me to stay, assured me that she would be and act like a better girlfriend. Dummy me took her back. I guess I believed her. I have been no contact since the end of September. I was discarded. I believe the primary reason was a loss of primary supply. I was laid off for about a year and a half. I was laid off about a year and a half ago, but also I think she saw that I was becoming wise to her. I was starting to figure her out, and maybe more importantly, I was resisting. At one of our last face-to-face meetings, she commented that she liked me the way I used to be, when I was easier to take advantage of and manipulate. She asked to remain friends, and at first I agreed. However, after a couple days and becoming more and more angry at her, I finally said, no, we are no longer friends, and that you need to move out of my house. A month later, she moved out. I didn't want to be at the house during the move when she was there, so I went out of town to clear my head. A couple months later, her mother mentioned to me that she now has a new girlfriend. Yes, I said girlfriend. My ex was in Ireland on business for most of November, and I was told that this new girlfriend was going to Ireland to visit for a few days or so. I don't know who this girl is, but I think something has been going on with them for a while. I am close to the narcissist's family, but I can see that over time it is less so. Anyways, the first 3 months of no contact were extremely hard. A lot of crying and a lot of laying around. I was so numb I couldn't do anything. Gosh, I'd love to give you more details sometime. What keeps me at least a little bit positive is knowing that we, the victims, can heal. Keep these great videos coming. I watched many of your videos on the red flags of a narcissist, and I haven't watched them all yet, but I plan to. I had some ideas based on my ex's behavior for some possible videos. They're just ideas. Maybe some or all of these topics have already been covered in previous videos, but here they are. It's some great ideas. The no-win discussion. Communication is just impossible with a narcissist. It's narcissistic logic. Yes, that is so true. It's the logic of whatever you say, even if you prove them wrong, they still act like they won. Like it's exhausting. The unusual overreactions. totally. It's like they even perceive that you've somehow insulted them and they go bananas. It's ridiculous. Covering up different sexual orientation as a way to cover up possibly their shame, question mark. I think there's a lot of narcissistic people. More narcissistic people tend to target other people for supply. And if a person has money or social status or public image or kind of what have you, it's very common for a narcissistic person. Their sexual orientation tends to be very, not all of them, but a lot of them tend to be very fluid. So they can go from women, they can go to men. It's kind of whoever they need to be in order to get what they want. That's what they do. So they kind of shape shift and become this social chameleon into being whatever they need to be. So even if you knew this person as identifying as straight, and then you find out later, oh, this is so weird, now she's involved with a woman, I never knew she was bisexual, or I never knew that she was bi-curious or what have you. Very, very common. So, let's see. The smirk. Yes, that's the look of gotcha. It's that smug, superior, also known as like duper's delight. And it's just kind of that like smug, like I'm pulling one over on you. Just that look of, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's frustrating. The junior high and high school games. Yes, a certain level of immaturity. You see this a lot with like triangulation and gossip and pot stirring and trying to make a person jealous, and just it's like that total, like that lack of accountability, where they'll just flat out deny stuff, or just all of that. Just a staggering level of immaturity. So thank you for your letter. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm glad that you can see that it is a positive, that this is not a woman that you wanted to marry and have children with. And it's so important that, both men and women, we marry a person for like their character and for their personality, because that's what you're marrying. Looks, money, that stuff that can come and go. And it's that core of who they are is ideally like what you want to marry. Because life is hard enough, So finding a person that you can feel safe and secure and comfortable and supported and empowered with is really, really critical. Frankly, anything else is just wasting your time. Okay. So let me get to another question here. Okay, so it's from Nancy. First off, thank you so much for all of your information. I am forever grateful for being directed to you, as you have explained so much, and I have such an understanding of what happened and why. I get it now. I wish I knew all of this 4 months ago. I feel like I'm finally healing, though. I can put my story here. It is long like everyone else's, but with all I have read and listened to, I believe I was the supply. I was the one he ran to and used temporarily. At first, I was blaming his alcoholism and abuse as a child. I know now that was only the start of it all. But being the temporary supply, as I feel like I was, can I figure that he won? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I figure that he won't ever make contact with me again? Could I be so lucky? Specifically, since the sheriff told him he could never come to my house again, and that my lawyer told him any form of contact will be harassment. I already have him blocked from Facebook and my phone. This all happened before I learned he is a narcissist. With all of what happened, I just thought he was crazy. I read about the hoovering, etc., and figured since I was the temporary supply, he will never come my way again. I do think he is and has been doing a smear campaign against me. I now know for sure he never loved me and totally used me. I almost feel bad for his ex that he went back to, but I guess it's not my problem, and I really don't care. Anyways, among many questions, I mostly wonder at this moment if I can feel that he won't ever come my way again. If possible, I would love an answer. Thank you so much for what you're doing. So, we don't have a crystal ball, and manipulative people, once they identify people that they can manipulate, right? Once they identify a potential source of supply, especially if they've been able to use, abuse, or exploit this person before, people in general, especially emotional manipulators, tend to take the path of least resistance. So it's very common for them to circle around whenever they need something. If they're feeling lonely or horny or, bored even, what have you, it's not uncommon that they just kind of all of a sudden resurface. So this isn't something that I would lose sleep over. It just is. So what you can do at this point is to emotionally prepare yourself for it. This is a possibility, a very likely possibility. Let's not get upset about it. Let's just kind of keep this on the radar. So if and when he does surface, who knows if that'll even happen, but if it does happen, if you're at least emotionally prepared for it, that way you're not going to be so knocked off balance if you do get an email from him or if he does chat you up through Facebook or what have you. So I guess that'd be more my concern, is that you have your kind of like emotional shields up, and there's certain things that you can do to kind of make things easier on yourself. So to go ahead right now and block his phone number, to set up his emails to go directly to your spam folder so you don't even see them, to block him on Facebook, to block him on Instagram, to, whatever social media sites you're on, to go ahead and just block them to where it's just not even, it doesn't upset you, you don't even see it. It's a total, just not even a thing. And if down the road he does resurface, then you can consider possibly, changing your phone number or kind of what have you. But doing what you need to do in order to feel safe and sane, and then just living your life, and hopefully living an amazing life. Because the more you can really get out there and enjoy your life, then if and when he does resurface, it's going to be it's so clear. You're like, oh my gosh, you couldn't pay me to even entertain that nonsense again. Like, it's such a million miles away from like where you are now that there truly is no pull. Because if you can get so used to feeling good and getting your buckets filled in like a healthy, positive way, then that kind of stuff, it loses all of its appeal, and you'll really see it for what it is. And there might be a little bit, depending, like a little twinge of possibly wanting to reopen contact. But if you can just remember, I don't need any of that, then you won't. And also, too, while I'm at it, making a list of your, for when you miss him, or her, for other people out there, list in which you write down every single thing that reason that you don't want this person in your life. So if they do come back around, you can go read that list, and that list will snap you awake and be like, oh, right. Because nostalgia is a tricky little thing, and it's amazing the stuff that we can gloss over and how we can justify to ourselves and thinking that it wasn't that bad when in fact it really was. So I would go ahead and do that now. Like, write that letter to yourself, keep it handy. I titled mine For When You Miss Him. And if you ever had that tug to reopen contact or what have you, or respond, read that list. So I hope that helps. Junebug says 100 days no contact today. That's awesome. Woohoo! Yay you. Oh boy. Montana Cowboy says, my narcissistic mother-in-law dropped an email today saying when she was coming to get her baby narc stuff that was still here, the time and date she would appear. Oh, delightful. Well, you could have I would stay real busy that day. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a question from Mike. Mike says, hi, Dana. I told my mother multiple times to stop contacting me through third parties. She continues to do it. She also keeps sending me Bible scriptures, where I also asked her to stop because I am not religious. She will not stop, and I just feel guilty because she is my mother. Do you have any suggestions? Well, I can so relate to that. My grandfather was a minister, and he was also a narcissist and, womanizer and liar and total sociopath. Like, the guy was just ridiculous. And it was the weirdest thing because he had no real personality. It was all like he just quoted from the Bible all the time. Like, it was just the strangest thing. And so he would constantly send us all of these, everything was letters, cards, Christmas presents. Everything was what he wanted us to have. And it was all of this Christian, heavy Christian stuff. And it was the same. And, it wasn't what we wanted. It was what he wanted us to have. It was a total turnoff, right? Like, it was, yeah. So I get it. The thing is, though, at the end of the day, we don't have control over them. Like, you don't have control over your mother. And so you can ask until you're blue in the face, and it's not going to, obviously, right? Like, it's not going to change what she's going to do. So she's going to do what she's going to do. So with that said, then the ball is back in your court. So now what are you going to do? So some options, at a minimum, I would say there's no sense in getting angry about it because you have no control over it. I would try to reserve that energy for something else, anything else. Because all we can do is all we can do. And then you just gotta throw your hands up and be like, she's just going to do what she's going to do. So you don't have to open anything she's giving you if you're like, okay, this is just exhausting. If other people try contacting you and say, whatever it is that she's telling them, you can just tell them, my mother, our relationship is between us. I really wish she wouldn't go to other people. Please do not bring her up again. And let the other people know and set that boundary of, I do not want to hear about this again. This conversation I'm not open to having this conversation. Now, mind you, they're probably manipulated too. So they think that they're doing the right thing. And you can approach them from a place of understanding that they are manipulated and say something like, I understand that you think that you're trying to do the right thing. And I'd probably be doing the same if I were in your shoes. But please realize that our dynamic things are very tense. And I have my boundaries with my mom. And this is, you guys, please, you don't need to get into the middle of this. And then just kind of let it go or let them know, like, please don't bring this up again. If she's sending you cards and these kinds of things, sending you Bible scriptures, you can always just throw them away. You can put them in a box. You can donate them to Goodwill. And there's lots of different things that you can do. I got to the place with my grandfather because he kept sending me all of these books, and I really enjoy a wide range of just religious or spiritual books because I think they're interesting. But a lot of the stuff he was sending me was very much about kind of women's roles, like basic, submission and I don't know, it was just very like antiquated and not, it was just gross, like icky and disempowering. A lot of that stuff I just threw away. I didn't even want to donate it. But, you can always do whatever you feel is right to do with that kind of stuff. But you know, if you could if you can do something to where there's not all of this intense emotion around it too, I think that would be very helpful. So if you can and this is kind of where it can be kind of playful, if you can separate yourself from what's actually going on. So let's say, for example, if it's during Christmas, right? And she normally sends you 2 or 3 things, and it just really gets under your skin. But let's say you also really like cheesecake. Stay with me here, okay? Let's say you really like cheesecake. You're like, okay, for every thing that she sends me in the mail that's religious, I get to eat a piece of cheesecake. Like, you can kind of make it into a game. So then you're like, yeah, and you get to the mailbox and you open it up and you're like, oh, yay, okay, 3 letters, boom, 3 pieces of guilt-free cheesecake, or whatever, and try to just have fun with it, because you don't have control over it. I mean, you can get locked into a power struggle, but there's just no point. All you can do is all you can do. So you might as well just try to make the best of it. And I'm sorry, I totally get your frustration. And that's just who she is. She's just going to continue pushing that boundary, because that's what they do. So, okay. Let's see. I think that was pretty much all of the questions that, yeah. It's so funny, the conversations that people have in the chat that I just kind of pop in and out of it, and they're just so random. Oh, Alexandra says, Dana, I need help understanding the difference between a somatic narcissist and a sex addict. I'm so confused on whether to give empathy or just to cut this guy off. Well, frankly, either one of those is worthy of being a deal breaker. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If he's cheating with multiple people, whether it's, just because if we give it the label like sex addict, like don't let that pull you into like, oh no, he's a sex addict, so this can change, just given enough like therapy or rehab or what have you, and that's somehow less problematic, because it's not. It's still incredibly problematic. And frankly, somatic narcissists kind of are like one and the same as far as sex addicts go, especially if they're acting out with like multiple partners. So it's with a person, it's not so much, I mean, the behavior is problematic, don't get me wrong, but it's the mindset that's driving that behavior. So if you've got a person who their compulsion, they get their self-esteem needs met by sleeping with a bunch of people, that's a problem, and it's exposing you to all kinds of stuff. And if they're showing you through their behavior that they lie, they cheat, they can't be trusted, and that they have this compulsion to continually, seduce or be seduced, you would never be, seriously, like you would never be able to trust them. Like frankly, it would be foolish to ever trust them. Because especially with sex addiction, because the pull is so there. I mean, there's just that dopamine hit of of sex, that bonding that happens, the oxytocin, like all of these feel-good chemicals that happen during sex are incredibly intoxicating. Plus, it's like the thrill of the hunt for a lot of people. And it's also the thrill of trying to get away with it. So it's not like your normal type of addiction or compulsion or whatever you want to call it. But like I said, to me, it's tomato. It's either way you cut it, it's highly problematic. And it's okay to have deal breaker stuff. I mean, you can still be empathetic. You can still be like, wow, okay, this guy's got, or this gal's got Oh, it's a guy. This guy, that's sad. That's sad that a person has to go sleep with a bunch of people in order to feel good about themselves. But it's okay and healthy to be like, this is what I want and don't want in my life, and to have deal breaker behavior. So it's not our deal to try to fix other people. That will just set us up for a life of pain and letdown. Actually, this is kind of off topic. I wanted to mention something about, I think it was Scott. Yeah, it was Scott's question about his ex-fiance, and they were living together, and she had said, basically their agreement was, well, we'll be friends, but she was still treating him terribly. And he finally was like, you've got to go, right? And I thought, because we were talking a little bit earlier about love, right? And defining what love is. And it's something that's based on, it's based on trust and honesty and character and kind of this appreciation of another human being. All of these things that kind of formulates love. Friendship is another one of these words that's really misused and misapplied. So friendship is very much the same thing, minus that physical, intimate relationship. So it's based on trust and honesty and dignity and respect and a mutual appreciation and understanding. If those elements aren't there, then it's not a friendship. So friends don't use, abuse, or exploit each other. Like, that's not a friend. And so I think it's important to kind of get that distinction clear. What category does this person fit into? And then to understand, okay, what does an acquaintance look like? Like, what is a friend, I should say, look like? What is an acquaintance? What is the dynamic there? What are the behaviors of an acquaintance? What is the dynamic? How am I behaving towards them? How are they behaving towards me? What does that type of dynamic look like? What does the dynamic of a friendship look like? Especially in motion. What does the dynamic between two people in love look like? What is the dynamic between two people who, don't get along? What is that like? How does a person that is dangerous or destructive or deadly, how do they act? So I think once you can kind of clarify, okay, these different types of people have different types of behavior, and once you can get clear on the distinctions between them, then it can make it easier to realize, okay, what am I dealing with here? Like, maybe you thought this person was like a friend, but you're like, wait a minute, but this person stealing money out of my wallet, they're calling me names. Friends don't treat friends like that. And so then once you can realize, okay, this person's telling me that they're my friend, but their behaviors are showing me that they're not my friend. So I know I need to go with based on their actions and not their words, because talk is not just cheap, it's free, right? So I need to focus on what I'm actually seeing, which is the behavior. That'll tell you everything you need to know. So if a person's not acting like a friend, they're not a friend. And so that's a sign to take a few steps back until you're like, okay, where am I? Where am I comfortable in this? Do you move back to a place where they're an acquaintance, or do you completely move back to a place where you're like, this person is actively working against me? And that's not friends don't actively work against you. So I just thought that was important to bring up. Okay. So guys, I am close to losing my voice. I can feel it. This is a good question. Caitlin says, I really need to understand something. Is a child sexual predator also a narcissist? So when I talk about narcissists, right? Just so we're clear, I'm not diagnosing anybody, right? Like I'm not diagnosing anybody with a personality disorder. When I talk about narcissism or a narcissist, it's in terms of issues of like power and control, and that level of a narcissistic person is a person who's so self-absorbed that they get all of their like self-esteem needs met, or just their needs in general met, by using, abusing, or exploiting other people. So it's all about them and whatever they want, and they don't have any problem with hurting other people. So they lack empathy and they lack remorse. So if a person is using, abusing, or exploiting another person in order to get what they want, then that's incredibly narcissistic. That's incredibly problematic. So yes, if a person is, sexually, in any way, financially, emotionally, what have you, preying on somebody else, which would be like exploiting, then yes, to me, that's incredibly narcissistic, right? Because they're using that person, they're using, abusing, and exploiting that person in order to get their own needs and wants and needs met. That's not normal, healthy behavior by any stretch. Would they actually get diagnosed as a narcissist? Probably not. If anything, that kind of degree of stuff would probably fall more under, I don't know, probably fall honestly under more of like antisocial personality disorder kind of stuff, which is kind of shades of narcissism. But this is getting into like the clinical component of it. That can be its own slippery slope. And it's, for our purposes, it really doesn't matter if we're talking about like and it's just such a slippery slope. Personality disorder stuff aside, it's the behavior that's important. So if a person's got that selfish behavior to the point where they're harming other people, that's incredibly narcissistic, and it's a problem, by kind of whatever name that you want to call it, if that makes sense. So, okay, guys. Well, I'm going to call it a night since I'm losing my voice. Please feel free to stay on the chat. I know lots of people stay here for quite a while after I leave and go to bed. So thank you so much for joining me. And we do this every single Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go for, 2 to 3 hours or so. And okay, actually, that's so, okay, one more question. This was a really good one. And then I'll go, because I'm going to lose my voice for real. Diane says, before you sign off, how do you know when you're over your ex? Does coming to this site each week and still reading about narcissism an indication that I'm still hurting? I think only you know the answer to that. And you know if you're still hurting or not. There's twinges of pain that I still have from both of my relationships. And even I've had a few narcissistic friendships that have been just as painful. That pain's still there. I don't know if I think with time, if you can learn to kind of reframe your understanding of it, and if you can turn that pain into more of like your power, then it can redirect that energy into like a more positive direction. And sometimes those deep wounds that they cause, they might still kind of be there, but you time and support and all of that, a person can learn to just endure that. And I don't know. I think it's so much of like kind of what you do, like what you end up doing with it and making it work for you. I think that's what it really boils down to at the end of the day. Like whatever pain that you are still having, realizing that you want to use this towards your highest and greatest good, and then using it towards the highest and greatest good of others. So kind of the upside to this, now granted, this is for people that are, a little, that have some time under their belt with healing, to the place just like where you're at, where you're like, okay, I'm not sure kind of where I'm at. When you're down the road a little bit and you're healing, the benefit of that is it can make you so much more compassionate for other people. Because once you've gone through hell, you're like, I get it. And you can see that in another human being. And there's something that's so beautiful and pure about that. When that's the beauty, I think, in our pain, is it bonds people like nothing else does. So, I think trying to make this work for you and for others is a great way to help to kind of process any like lingering pain that you might still have. I guess the bigger thing for me with your question would be not so much getting over him, although obviously that's a big part of it. I get that, but rediscovering who you are. Like, to me, that's where the magic happens. And so, yes, these relationships, they blow a person's life to pieces. And it can feel absolutely devastating on every level, physically, emotionally, psychologically, sexually, financially, spiritually. This level of destruction that a person may not have ever realized was even possible. And the beauty in that, though, is when your life is blown to pieces, you then have the power to go about consciously rebuilding your life. You can pick up each piece and examine it. That can be very overwhelming. I get that. But at the same time, it's very powerful because you pick up a piece and you're like, okay, do I want to rebuild my life with this? Like, this is what this is the body image that my mother shared with me, right? Or this is the idea of beauty that I grew up with. Or this is the idea of like what's possible for a woman, or what's possible for somebody who's my age, or what have you. And you just start questioning everything. And it can feel overwhelming, but it's also, like I said, it's very powerful, because then you're really rebuilding your life like on purpose. And then it becomes a completely authentic life. So really, to me, the journey of healing it starts off like step one is getting over them, but step two is rediscovering you. And that means getting back into that alignment with who you are, and like what, your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and your wants and your needs, and rediscovering you. Kind of that whole, I know it sounds hippie woo-woo, but like that whole inner child thing within you, learning to love yourself. Like that's where the magic is. So I hope that helps. We can talk more about that next week if you'd like to. If you have any more like specific questions about that. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. They're confused because that whole concept is so tossed out there often, and it seems confusing. Like, well, what do you mean by like inner child, and what do you mean by self-love, and well, what do you mean by tuning into your emotions and these things? Because like that stuff's not taught, and so people tend, we all kind of go through life thinking like, I think I love myself. Like, yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, okay, or I think I'm in tune with my emotions, but we are at a surface level, but not at a really deep level. And it's fun when it can get to that level. So I know that might seem a little vague. Like I said, we can get into that more next week for sure. So, okay. So with that said, thank you so much for joining me. Okay, one last, darn it, you guys, and your great questions. Okay, Caitlin says, so I'm really wondering how to take the right steps in healing codependency. Coda. There's, well, the couple things. Look up Pia Melody on YouTube. You can look up Ross Rosenberg. I have a series on codependency as well called The Red Flags of Codependency. And Coda groups, they're free and they're anonymous and they're generally worldwide. And they run on a fairly regular basis. I think they even have a website, like online groups that you can join. And that's all about like healthy boundaries and all of that. So even if a person doesn't identify as being codependent, I think there's still a lot of benefit they can get from Coda groups. So CODA, Coda. So, okay, guys, with that said, you guys have a fantastic night, have a fantastic week, and just lots and lots of love to you. So you are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this. So take care, and just sending you guys all just lots of light and love. Have a fantastic week. See you next time. Bye.